turn to lesson 24, which is about the infinitive. So we have already used the infinitive quite a bit up to this point. So if you remember, it's just the to verb. So I want to go, or I want to run, I want to go, to run, to go. Those are infinitives. And so we have been using infinitives this whole time in probably its most usual way, which is completing a verb. Like we saw it for words like dunamai, I am able to do something, or thello, we've used it for thello a lot, I want to do something. So that is the most common use of the infinitive. And so this chapter is just talking about other uses of the infinitive. And so one thing that is important here is that the subject of the infinitive is in the accusative case. Okay, so here, good it is to pray us many times or often. And so you can tell it's a good thing for us to pray. It's us that are doing the praying. But here, us is in the accusative, which actually it is for English as well. So just pointing that out, that if you want to have a subject or someone doing the action of the infinitive, we put that in the accusative. So the other example here, the prophet ought to speak words of peace. Well, that's not the subject, but it's still in the accusative because it's the object of what is being spoken. So here, that evil man does not want us to know. So there, us is accusative and it's the subject of the knowing. Or, sorry, you to know. You to know the truth. So those are examples. Sometimes, here, you have two accusatives, humas and tein alethian. They're both accusative. And so you have to choose, you have to look at context. Sometimes the accusatives are stacked together. So he does not want the truth to know you. It just doesn't make sense in context. So in context, you will know that it does not want us to know the truth. If you can't tell, usually the first word is the subject and the second word is the object of the infinitive. So like here, humas is the subject of genosking, and then tein alethian is the object. So that's an important thing. The subject of an infinitive is in the accusative case. Okay, it goes over forms, and these should be familiar. None of these forms should be new. Okay, and then it goes to many other ways that the infinitive can be used. So the first is it can be used as the subject. So this would be another example. Here it is good to keep the commandments, or to keep the commandments is good. So to keep there is standing in as the subject. To keep is. Or in Philippians, when Paul says to live is Christ, to die is gain. To live, to die, those are standing in as the subjects. It can also be the direct object of the verb, and this is what we have been used to seeing. So seeking to kill, it completes that verbal idea there. Okay, and then we get all sorts of new ones here. You can combine an infinitive with eis or pros with an article to express purpose. So the examples it gives here. The Spirit sent me well, okay, this one doesn't have ace or pros, but to preach. And you could retranslate this as the Spirit has sent you in order to preach the word of God, for the purpose of preaching the word of God. So the infinitive is just standing alone as the purpose. But it's common to do something like this as well. They were taken to the authorities in order to be crucified, for the purpose of being crucified. So this eis to or pros to are common ways that you can do an infinitive, a purpose, rather than doing like a hina clause with the subjunctive. You can do it here with the infinitive as well. And then similar, you can do the result with hoste. So here we have hostaton plus the infinitive. So that, with the result that the crowd was amazed. The difference between purpose and result can be difficult at first, but it has to do with intention. Did the person intend for something to happen? Was that their purpose? Or did they do something and then the result happened? So like here, the woman healed the blind man so that the crowd marveled. The woman wasn't trying to make the crowd marvel, but that was the result of the healing. So, and sometimes it's pretty ambiguous what is what. So we'll probably get into that more when we talk about exegesis and syntax, but for now, so eis and pros for purpose generally, and hoste for result. Also time, these can be difficult here. So, but pro, we are used to meaning before, and you can do pro plus an article plus the infinitive, and this is before he entered. Before he entered. And then meta, we are used to meaning after. So here, after the demons were casted out, you can see the neuter article there stands in again. The only one that's really different is the use of in for time that is happening now. Or at least the time that is going on at the same time as the main verb. And so if you think of in as like a container, right? And thinking of time as a container. So in that time that they were praying, the infant cried. So we're thinking of time as a container there. In this time, the infant was praying. And then it's just more idiomatic in English to say, while they were praying, the infant cried out. But I think it's helpful to think of it as in the time of. And it makes more sense why in is used there. And then here, it can be used to express cause. And this shouldn't be anything new because dia plus the accusative means because of. And so here we have dia plus the accusative and then plus the infinitive. And this meaning is because the man heard about him. So dia to plus an infinitive can mean because. So all of those, these are all important, but hopefully you see that they're not too unusual. Eis and pros is maybe a little unusual, but eis is often used for a purpose. You'll see that a lot, like this idea of going into or going towards or for something. Eis is often used for a purpose, and so to use it here with the infinitive in a purpose type of way is not unusual. Hoste is often used, it means so that, so it's usually used for result. The time we already talked about. The only one really a bit strange is in, and cause really isn't that difficult either, because diato with the accusative you already know is because of. But now you know it can be used with the infinitives as well. Okay, then it has this last section on indirect discourse, and it just points out that indirect discourse is, as opposed to direct discourse, is the difference between saying that versus quotes. So in English, I can say, the man said, quote, "I love dogs," end quote, right? That's direct discourse. Indirect discourse is we add that. The man said that he loves dogs. And so Greek often uses hoti, which means that, to express indirect discourse. So that's pretty easy to catch. It's not unusual. It's pretty normal. In Greek, though, they can also use the infinitive to express indirect discourse. And so Croy points out that we have something similar when we say, they consider him to have the best qualifications of the job. If I was to make this direct discourse, you could say, they consider, quote, he has the best qualifications for the job, end quote, something like that. That would maybe be a way of doing direct discourse. But this isn't all that common in English. But in Greek, it's more common, where you have something like lege and then plus the infinitive. So this man says that there is no God. God not to be. So we would change this. This man says that there is no God. And that sounds better in English than this man says to be no God. Doesn't quite make sense. And then the last thing he points out is the difference in the way that English and Greek uses the tense of the indirect discourse. So in English, we often keep the tenses, or in English, we'll sometimes change the form of the original discourse when reporting it. So here, I see the man is what the woman said. Or let's go back here. I see the man. She said that she saw the man. Because we're talking about a past event, we change the she saw to the past, because this quote was in the past. Greek keeps the tense of what it was originally. So rather than saying that she saw, it says that she said that she sees the man. So because in the present she said that she saw the man, the Greek still uses the present rather than using the past as we do in English. And it's really not, it's different, but it's not too hard to pick up as you're just reading along in the text. So, but just be aware of that as you are reading. And then that brings us to the end. So, all right, good work.